What if your body stopped working, but your mind became one of the greatest in history? What if doctors told you that you had only 2 years to live, and instead you lived for over 50? What would you do if the world gave up on you, but you still believed in the stars? Hello, my amazing friends. Welcome back to Learn English with Stories. 365, the place where you don't just learn English. You live it, feel it, and grow with every story. Today, I have something truly powerful for you. A story that will break your heart, lift your spirit, and fill your mind with wonder. This is the incredible life story of Stephen Hawking, a boy who couldn't walk, couldn't speak, but changed the universe with the power of his mind. As we follow Stephen's journey, you will improve your English listening, learn new vocabulary, and discover how to speak with more confidence and heart. So get ready. My dear learners, take a deep breath. Open your heart. This story will stay with you forever. Let's begin. Part 1. The Curious Boy from Oxford. It was January 8th, 1942. A cold winter day in Oxford, England. A baby boy was born. His name was Stephen William Hawking. It was a special date, exactly 300 years after the death of the famous scientist Galileo. No one knew this small baby would one day become just as famous, just as brilliant. Maybe even more. Stephen was born into a family that loved knowledge. His father, Frank, was a scientist in medicine. His mother, Isabel, was a smart and caring woman. They were not rich, but they believed in learning. Books filled their small home. Dinner conversations were full of ideas. Stephen grew up surrounded by questions, answers, and more questions. From a young age, Stephen was curious. Very curious. He asked about the stars, the sky, the earth. Why does the moon shine? How does gravity work? What is time? He wanted to understand everything. His mind was always busy. His teachers saw it. His family saw it. The other children, they didn't always understand him. In school, Stephen was quiet. He didn't play sports. He wasn't the strongest boy, but he was always thinking. The other kids called him Einstein as a joke, but Stephen didn't mind. He liked it. He respected Albert Einstein. He wanted to be like him one day. Stephen loved science, but he also loved building things. He made small machines from old parts. He created a computer using recycled pieces. He was not just smart, he was creative too. At home, Stephen would lie on the grass and look at the stars. He would ask his mother, "What's out there?" She didn't always have the answers, but she smiled and said, "One day, maybe you will find out." That one thought stayed with him forever. He was not the best at writing or spelling, but when it came to thinking, imagining, and asking big questions, Stephen was a genius in the making. This was the beginning. A boy with glasses, a boy with questions, a boy who would one day give answers to the universe. Part 2, Student with a Dream. Stephen's love for science only grew stronger as he got older. At the age of 17, he was accepted into Oxford University, one of the best universities in the world. But getting into Oxford didn't mean life was easy. It was just the beginning of a new challenge. At Oxford, Stephen felt out of place. He was young, shy, and very quiet. He didn't enjoy parties or loud groups. He preferred to be alone, thinking, reading, and solving problems in his head. Some students found him strange, but Stephen didn't care. He was not there to impress anyone. He was there to learn. He studied physics, his favorite subject. He loved the way the universe worked. He wanted to understand black holes, time-light, and space. He didn't want small answers. He wanted the biggest answers to the biggest questions. But there was one problem. Stephen didn't study in the usual way. He didn't take many notes. He didn't write long essays. He didn't even seem to work that hard. His professors were confused. Some thought he was lazy. Others thought he was brilliant. The truth was, Stephen learned by thinking deeply, not by following the rules. One of his teachers once said, "Stephen is very clever, but he's not serious." But they were wrong. Stephen was very serious. He just didn't show it in the normal way. Despite everything, Stephen did well in school. In fact, during his final exams, he surprised everyone. He had two choices: get a perfect score and go to Cambridge, or fail and leave with nothing. And what happened? He got a perfect score. Stephen went on to study at Cambridge University. It was a dream come true. At Cambridge, he began to focus on cosmology, the study of the universe. Why does the universe exist? What started it? Will it end? These were the questions that filled his heart and mind. He was excited. He was ready. His mind was on fire. But life once again had a different plan. Stephen had big dreams, but before he could chase them, something happened. Something that would change everything. A strange feeling in his body. A small fall. A weakness in his hands. At first he ignored it, but it wouldn't go away. The journey was about to take a dark turn. Part 3, the diagnosis that changed everything. Stephen was only 21 years old. He had just started his PhD at Cambridge. His mind was full of ideas. He was ready to explore the universe. But then, something strange started happening to his body. He felt weak. His hands didn't work the way they used to. He would trip while walking. His speech began to slur. It was small at first, easy to ignore, but it got worse. One day he fell and couldn't get up. His parents were worried. His friends didn't know what to say. Something was clearly wrong. Stephen went to the hospital. Doctors ran tests. They studied him. They looked serious. After many weeks, they gave him the news. "You have a disease called ALS." They said, "It will slowly destroy your nerves. You will lose control of your muscles. One day you will not be able to walk, move, or even speak." Stephen sat quietly. "And how long do I have?" he asked. The doctor looked down. "Maybe 2 years." 2 years. That was all. 2 years to live. 2 years before everything stopped. 2 years before death. Stephen was shocked. He was angry. He was scared. He was only 21. He hadn't even started his real work yet. He hadn't seen the world. He hadn't made a discovery. He hadn't lived. He fell into a deep sadness. He stopped working. He stopped studying. He didn't see the point anymore. What was the use of learning, of planning, of dreaming, if he was going to die so soon? He stayed in his room for days. He didn't talk to people. He didn't smile. He felt like everything was over. But life wasn't done with him yet. During this dark time, something unexpected happened. He met a girl. Her name was Jane Wilde. She was a student at Cambridge, too. She was kind. She was full of life. And she saw something in Stephen that others didn't. She didn't care about the disease. She cared about him. Stephen tried to push her away. "I'm dying," he said. "You shouldn't waste your time." But Jane smiled and said, "Then let's live while we can." Her words woke him up. Stephen began to hope again. He started studying once more. He returned to his research. He wanted to finish his PhD. He wanted to write papers. He wanted to understand the universe before it was too late. He realized something powerful. He could not stop his body from dying, but his mind was still alive, still brilliant, still full of questions. And so he made a decision. "If I only have 2 years," he said, "I will make them count." Stephen didn't give up. He chose love. He chose science. He chose life. And that choice changed everything. Part 4. A Mind That Refused to Die. Stephen was no longer the same young man who had once walked into Cambridge full of dreams. His body was getting weaker. Walking became difficult. He needed a cane. Then, later, a wheelchair. His hands could not hold a pen. His speech became harder to understand. Day by day, ALS was taking away his body, but it could not take his mind. He married Jane in 1965. It was a simple wedding. They were young, poor, and full of hope. Jane stood beside him, strong and full of love. She believed in him even when others didn't. She pushed his wheelchair. She helped him dress. She supported his dreams every single day. As long as Stephen can think, she said, he has a purpose. Stephen started working harder than ever before. With the help of Jane and other students, he continued his research. He used his voice carefully. Every word was important. Every sentence was slow but filled with meaning. He was thinking about black holes, time, and the beginning of the universe. One day he shocked his professors with a powerful idea. What if black holes weren't completely black? What if they released energy? What if they slowly disappeared? This idea became known as Hawking radiation. It changed how scientists saw the universe. The world began to notice him. People came from around the world to hear him speak. Even though his voice was weak, his ideas were strong. He didn't need to shout to be heard. His thoughts spoke louder than his voice ever could. He also became a father. He and Jane had 3 children. At home, Stephen was not just a scientist, he was a dad. He played games, told stories, and tried to live as normally as possible. He showed his kids that strength is not about muscles. It's about courage. But life was still hard. As his condition got worse, he needed more help. He lost his ability to speak completely. Many people thought that would be the end of his career. How could a scientist work without speech? Once again, Stephen refused to give up. A computer company created a special device for him. It was a voice synthesizer. He could now type with his fingers, and the machine would speak for him. It had a robotic sound, but it became his voice. People all over the world began to recognize that unique mechanical voice. It became a symbol of hope. Stephen joked, "It's the best voice I've ever had." It even has an American accent. With his new voice, he gave interviews, speeches, and lectures. He wrote books. He taught students. His most famous book, A Brief History of Time, sold millions of copies. He became a global star. Stephen had every reason to stop, but he didn't. His mind was alive. His dreams were alive. And so he kept going, not just to survive, but to make history. Part 5, Locked Body, Free Mind. Stephen could no longer move most of his body. He was now completely in a wheelchair. His hands barely worked. His voice was gone. He could only speak through a computer. Some people thought he was trapped, but they were wrong. His body was locked. Yes, but his mind was more free than ever. Through his speech machine, Stephen shared ideas with the world. It took time to type every word, but his words were powerful. He didn't waste time on small talk. Every sentence was clear, smart, and full of meaning. People listened. People learned. People were amazed. Stephen became a symbol of hope. A man who could not walk, who could not talk, but who could teach the world. He appeared in documentaries. He gave lectures. He met world leaders. He even appeared on popular TV shows like The Simpsons and Star Trek. He was not afraid to laugh at himself. He had a sharp wit and a great sense of humor. Someone once asked him, "How do you keep going?" Stephen replied, "Where there's life, there's hope." He lived that message every day. He also loved technology. He worked with computer scientists to make better ways to speak and work. He used only one cheek muscle to control his voice device. That tiny movement gave him the power to write books, deliver speeches, and answer questions from students around the world. His lectures were never boring. He talked about time travel, black holes, the Big Bang, and the meaning of life. And he always made people think. Even children could understand his ideas because he made science feel exciting and fun. Stephen believed that everyone should ask big questions. "Look up at the stars," he said, "not down at your feet." He wanted people to wonder, to imagine, to dream. He never let his condition define him. People saw the wheelchair, the machine, the disability, but when they heard his words, they saw the real Stephen, brilliant, funny, kind, and full of life. He inspired not just scientists, but ordinary people. People who were sick, people who were sad, people who felt weak, They looked at Stephen and said, "If he can do it, maybe I can too." Stephen proved that your mind is your greatest power, and even when your body cannot move, your thoughts can still fly. He was not a prisoner, he was a pioneer. Part 6. Changing How We See the Universe. Stephen Hawking was no longer just a scientist. He had become a global icon. His name was known around the world. People didn't just admire his intelligence. They admired his strength, his courage, his humor. But Stephen was not interested in being famous. He was interested in one thing: understanding the universe. He continued to ask the biggest questions. What happened before the Big Bang? What is inside a black hole? Is time travel possible? Can the universe end? These were not questions for ordinary minds. But Stephen's mind was never ordinary. His most famous book, A Brief History of Time, was published in 1988. No one expected it to be a success. It was about physics, space-time, and black holes. It had no pictures, no jokes, and lots of complex ideas. But something magical happened. The world wanted to listen. The book sold over 25 million copies. It was translated into over 40 languages. People were curious. Stephen made science exciting. He made it feel personal. He showed that even the deepest mysteries of the universe could be understood by anyone if explained with care and passion. He once said, "Science is not only a discipline of reason, but also one of romance and passion." And he meant it. He didn't want science to be locked in books. He wanted it in every home, every school, every heart. Stephen gave public lectures to audiences of thousands. He used his machine voice to explain black holes, time loops, and parallel universes. He smiled as children asked him funny questions. He loved to connect with young minds. One child once asked him, "What would happen if I fell into a black hole?" Stephen replied with a grin, "You'd be turned into spaghetti." That answer made everyone laugh, but behind the joke was a brilliant explanation of a real scientific idea: spaghettification, the stretching of matter inside a black hole. He also worked with other scientists on ideas about the multiverse, the nature of time, and the future of Earth. He warned the world about dangers: climate change, artificial intelligence, and even the risk of nuclear war. He believed science could save us, but only if we used it wisely. Despite his growing fame, Stephen stayed humble. He once said, "I'm just a child who never stopped asking, why?" That simple sentence told his whole story. Stephen wasn't interested in being rich or powerful. He was interested in knowledge. He wanted to know how everything worked, from the smallest particle to the biggest galaxy. He became the most famous scientist since Albert Einstein. But his mission was never about himself. It was always about the universe and helping others see its beauty. Through books, TV shows, interviews, and speeches, Stephen reached millions. He helped people fall in love with science. He opened the door to the cosmos and said, "Come in." He didn't just study the stars, he became one. Part 7, Global Icon Final Messages. As the years passed, Stephen Hawking became more than a scientist. He became a voice for the future. He was honored with medals, awards, and titles. He was invited to speak at major events, meet presidents, and attend global conferences. But no matter how famous he became, he never stopped asking questions, and he never stopped warning the world. Stephen was deeply concerned about Earth's future. He believed we needed to act fast. He spoke about climate change, warning that the planet was getting hotter and more dangerous. He told world leaders, "We are close to the point of no return." He asked us all to protect the Earth before it was too late. He also talked about the power and danger of artificial intelligence. He said that if we are not careful, AI could become smarter than humans and take control. We must make sure machines serve us, not the other way around, he said. His voice may have come from a computer, but his words came from deep wisdom. Stephen believed that human beings must continue to explore space. He said that if Earth becomes unlivable, we should be ready to live on other planets. We must reach for the stars, he said. It may be our only chance to survive. He didn't just focus on problems. He gave people hope. He believed in human creativity, in science, in the power of thinking and dreaming. Even in his final years, Stephen stayed busy. He worked on books. He answered students' questions. He appeared in TV shows and documentaries. He kept sharing his ideas with the world. He had a message for everyone, not just scientists, but all people. However difficult life may seem, there is always something you can do and succeed at. It matters that you don't just give up. Those words became his gift to the world. In 2018, Stephen Hawking passed away peacefully in Cambridge. He was 76 years old. He had lived more than 50 years longer than doctors had expected. And in those years, he had changed the world. But Stephen's voice did not die. It still speaks through his books, his ideas, his courage, and his dreams. And it reminds us, never stop asking questions. Never stop looking up. Conclusion: a star that never went out. Stephen Hawking showed us that the greatest power is not in our bodies, but in our minds. He could not walk. He could not speak without a machine. But he made the world listen. He made the world think. And he made the world believe. His life was not easy. It was full of pain, struggle, and limits. But Stephen never focused on what he lost. He focused on what he still had: his mind, his dreams, and his passion for science. He taught us that no matter how difficult life gets, we must not give up. We must keep going. We must keep learning. And we must keep dreaming. Today, we remember Stephen Hawking not just as a scientist, but as a fighter, a dreamer, and a teacher of the universe. His voice still echoes in classrooms, books, and hearts around the world. So, my amazing friends, what did you learn from Stephen's journey? Let us know in the comments. And remember, every time you ask why, or look up at the stars, you are continuing his mission. Keep learning, keep believing, keep going. This is Learn English with Stories 365, where English meets inspiration. See you in the next story.